Welcome to the Oracle Scroll. This is a new year, a new decade, and a new beginning. We have a new look and a new sound. So we appreciate you joining us today. I'm Kevin Walder, your host, and I will be joined by guests along the way as we assemble information on how we can make this our best life, how we can create the world we live in. We are pleased to have as our guest June Antoinette Nixon. June is, well, she's many things, but she is the vice president of a group called Aghost in Seattle. Aghost stands for Advanced Ghost Hunters of Seattle and Tacoma. They've traveled all over the country. They've traveled the world in search of verifiable paranormal activity. So June has lots of stories to tell, and so June is a very easy to listen to speaker for one thing, and she's fascinating. She's brought some slides along. So without further ado, we'll turn it over to June. Hello, June.
Hello, Kevin. Thank you for having me on tonight. Thank you so much. And what I thought I'd do is share my screen with my PowerPoint presentation that I usually give. So let me do that right now. I'll go ahead and share. Let's see. How do I do this? There we go. I bet that's the one. I'm going to share this. Okay, let's go to slideshow. Oh, yes. And of course, there we go. It's like it's going to try to save it from the beginning. Let's see here.
There you go.
Okay. Can everybody see it all right?
You just bounced out of screen. Your screen share went away.
Okay, let's see. What do I do? New share? Sorry, everyone.
That's okay.
I see everything okay.
Do you?
Yeah, I see everybody that's in the meeting and her screen share.
Okay.
Take it away, June.
Okay, I will go ahead. But I thought I'd talk about a lot of my travels. I have traveled around the world. And every time we go around the world, we usually travel someplace on the spooky side. That's what I call spooky side. But, a lot of people think, it's just kind of strange. But I love it. The first place we usually go when we go to some places, we stop at the graveyards or someplace we know is haunted. But let me go ahead without further ado. So Travel on the Spooky Side by June Antoinette Nixon. I'm Vice President of the Advanced Ghost Hunters of Seattle, Tacoma, which Kevin has said. Thank you. And so we thought I'd just give a minute to find out who is June. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, a very long time ago. And there I am there with my mom and dad before all this happened. And I was named June because my great aunts and uncles were born in June, as well as my dad. And I was a professional opera singer for many years. And now my life is all ghosts. Don't know how that happened, though. And I'm a horror movie fanatic. I've been a paranormal investigator for over 14 years, and I consider myself a borderline skeptic, which means it takes quite a bit to get me to say anything is paranormal. And there I am there. Sorry. I also volunteer at Spooked in Seattle. You kind of see it. It's down in Pioneer Square at First and Cherry, and lots of interesting things there. I'll kind of go through some of these because, we don't need to dwell on those. But it is also a death museum there. But sadly, they are going to lose that space in March. So we don't know where we're going to go after that. So It's very sad. But there are several spirits that are said to haunt that place. But one of our most famous residents, and I thought I'd just talk a minute about Mr. Creepy. If you have not seen Mr. Creepy, he is a ventriloquist dummy. It was made in the image of the ventriloquist. The ventriloquist also used his own hair, so he's delightful. And that's who we think he is in this picture here. We've been told that he was quite a big name in vaudeville. In the 1960s, early 60s, he was killed in a car accident. After that, he also made a doll for his wife with her own hair. Unfortunately, she was lost by the antique dealer. So they don't know, they've never been able to find her. Ever since she was lost, he has kind of been moving his head around like he's searching for someone. So it's sad. They've never been, apart. And then all of a sudden, now he doesn't have his other one. But we've had times where he has moved his eyes several times. This is a picture there of his eyes kind of moved sideways, but there's no way that that could happen because in the back of him, it's spring-loaded. You have to pull a little trigger in order to get his eyes to move that way. So when you reach in to say, what's going on there? The eyes just automatically bounce back. So it's very interesting with that. He's also been featured in the book Haunted Toys and Eerie Companions, A History of Haunted Dolls. There's that by David Weatherly. And Haunted Toys by David Weatherly and Ross Allison. So just a little insight on him. And his forever home, which not too much longer, is at Spooked in Seattle Ghost Tours in Pioneer Square. So we'll have to find a new place for him for a while. Probably in my room. No, just kidding. Okay, so let's kind of travel a little bit to West Seattle. We used to investigate this place called the Old Homestead Restaurant. It is in Alki Beach, not too far off the main drag there. I don't know if anybody had eaten there before. It was there for quite a few number of years. It was owned by Doris Nelson, and she was a major workaholic. She worked so much that even when she had pneumonia, she kept working, and sadly, that's what killed her. So, but that did not stop her from still looking over her restaurant. People had said that she was still seen walking in the kitchen. She'd be in the corner of the kitchen. They'd look over and see her standing there and scream. They see her looking over the staircase down into the restaurant, just kind of looking over everybody. And then as soon as somebody would look up and, say, oh my gosh, she'd just disappear. This one woman actually complained because she was getting a really dirty look from this woman because her child was screaming. And they said, well, she's the woman in the painting above the fireplace. And, is that the owner? We don't, I don't really like that she's giving me dirty looks because my child is, expressing themselves. And they were like, well, if that was her, she's been dead for 10 years now. So anyway, what happened was there was one night where they had a horrible, horrible fire. They had plugged too many plugs in it for the Christmas at the Christmas tree. And sadly, the place basically almost burnt down. This is kind of what it looked like when we got to investigate it. We had the privilege of investigating this place about 5 or 6 times. And there's us investigating. So just thought I'd throw that one in there. But this is one of the, a short little clip of what we caught. Now it's going to be a little hard to see, I'm sure, but I just wanted to kind of throw this in here. Ross and I and a few others were downstairs doing an EVP session. And does anyone know what EVP stands for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Anyway, it stands for electronic voice phenomenon. And we're downstairs doing a session when all of a sudden we hear loud footsteps walking above us. And this lasted almost a full minute. But one of the things about it, since it had the fire, if anybody did walk right above us in the spot we're hearing the footsteps, they would have fallen through the floor because you could actually see up above to the next level because it was almost burnt through. So we're like, wow, we're hearing these really loud footsteps. So we need to go upstairs and kind of check and see, if there's a homeless person or somebody just up there, hiding, just in case. Of course, we go up there, we didn't see anybody, but when Ross was panning around with the camera, we caught a little something. And let me play this. Of course, it's going to take a while. It's going to be a little hard to see. And this is just Ross and I on the top floor. I'm right behind him. Now, if you look in the doorway, there is a little shadow. It's kind of right here. There's a light above the head, which is the light reflecting off the camera in the window. And you can kind of see it dart away really quickly. They're going to show it one more time just to kind of really slow it down. But you can see this right here. And then it darts away really quickly. So that was interesting. We had gotten a few other just small EVPs and things like that. But if you ever get a chance, it's called Il Nido now, the restaurant. And let's go a little bit further over now to Port Gamble, Washington. I don't know if you have been to Port Gamble. Cutest little town over on the other side of the water. That's what I call it. It's in Kitsap County. And almost every building has a ghost story. The Walker Ames house was built in 1889. It's been vacant for many years, and it's called one of the most haunted homes in Washington state. Here it is. It's absolutely beautiful. And here it is at night, still absolutely beautiful. And this is a picture I took when I was all by myself on the second level. I was hearing something strange coming from the hallway. And the picture on the right here is when I just took a quick little picture with the thermal imaging camera. And it kind of came out to this strange figure, this strange shape. And then the next picture I took, it was completely gone. So that was very strange. And this was in the attic. There is a little toy up there that plays. It's motion censored, and it plays when people get too close to it. But you actually have to touch the toy in order for it to go off. We tried many experiments with this toy, and the only way to make it go off is you have to tap it. So here it is.
At the Walker Ames house, we set up trigger objects in the attic. We wanted to test to see if a possible child spirit would engage with us. As you'll see in the next videos, we did get activity when we asked it to play. Can you touch the teddy bear? What happens then? Sounds like you want to play with us. What game? We like to play. Do you want to play dominoes?
So that was very interesting in the attic of the Walker Ames house. Now let's go up north to Stanwood Hotel and Saloon. And Kevin and Todd are very, very familiar with this place. This is what it would look like back in the day. There's us hard at work. I think that was break time. Here it is at night. That's us doing an EVP session there. And this, let me see which this one is. So this was a EVP that we caught at about 4 o'clock in the morning, and it sounds almost like a little girl humming, if you can hear it at the end there. There were no children on our investigation, just to let you know. And this one, I was talking to a friend of mine, and you can actually hear a little girl kind of yelling at us. There were no children anywhere close to this spot, and we did kind of enhance it a little bit so you could hear it a little better, because it was, but you could tell it was coming from inside the room. Here it is again. So it was very, very strange. We could tell you a lot more stories about Stanwood, but like I said, I don't want to make this 6 hours for you. all the different places. Another place we got to investigate quite a bit was practically the whole town of Centralia, Washington. We got to help them with their kind of around Halloween time. They have a ghost walk they do where they take people into the different businesses that have some sort of reported paranormal activity. And we went in there and kind of told our stories of our findings. One of my favorite places is in Centralia is the Shady Lady. And this is not only an antique store, they also on the top floor have a bordello museum. It's really interesting. They found a lot of different artifacts. Some are a little shady, and it's just a really interesting place. Here's one of the rooms that they have in there. It's kind of the more religious room where they think that the girls did have an influence of religion in there just to kind of clear their conscience. And this was a creepy picture. I just turned the corner. It made me kind of yelp a little. I just thought I'd include it. And beautiful chandeliers. Really, really cool place. And this kind of went into some of the rooms. Okay.
Time to call. 12:30.
Now you're going to hear in this one, you're going to hear somebody yell outside, and then there's a gravelly voice inside. And we're still not sure what it says. We keep listening to it over and over, but it is coming from inside, like they're kind of disgruntled about the person yelling outside.
Time to call. 12:30.
Now this one's really hard to hear. But when I was in this room, I had said something about my camera, and it sounds like a male is saying, "Take her." Don't know where he was thinking of taking me, but. So anyway, it's kind of hard to hear in that one. Now, this one's kind of interesting. My friend Ross, asked me if I had an extra pen, and you can clearly hear a male voice say, "No." So it's like he wasn't asking you, buddy. All right, now we're going to get out of state to California. And this is Ione, California, which is Preston Castle. This has a very kind of sad past to it. Kind of more pictures of it. Beautiful, beautiful building, that's for sure. It was built in the 1890s, and it was primarily a reform school for juvenile delinquent boys. Very strict and violent place. It was also self-sustaining, where they had their own animals and gardens and everything else, so they didn't have to like leave the grounds. But this place was for boys. I mean, young boys under the age of 17, and anyone attempting to escape would be shot. This was like a prison, and very sad. A lot of young boys lost their lives here. And that's the little graveyard of the boys. A lot of the markers used to just be numbers, but thanks to the foundation, they have replaced it with the boys' names now. So that's kind of nice, at least. Okay, this one's a little hard to hear. This is a little hard to hear, but it sounds like we heard this with our own ears, and it sounds like a man saying, "Take a look at my room." I usually don't like to say what I think it is because I don't want to sway your thoughts, but for the presentation, I kind of take liberties. But here it is again. And here is another one, this one.
Your second floor.
This is the second floor when we were in kind of the dormitory area. And it almost sounds like someone saying, "Run." So sadly, we did not hear it at the time, and we did not run. But, you know, thank goodness we're still okay.
Your second floor.
And this one, I think, is the snapping. Let's see. No. This one is another one, and it sounds like the same voice as the first one when we were in the infirmary, and you hear someone saying, "My room." So I think this little guy was following us around and wanted us to really look at his room. Sadly, we did not hear that one at the time. And this one was the snapping.
We need something really loud. Otherwise, it's hard for us to tell. Could you make a louder sound?
Is someone snapping? I hear it. It sounds like you're in a gift shop.
We need something really loud. Otherwise, it's hard for us to tell.
Hear it right there.
Could you make a louder sound?
Is someone snapping? I hear it. It sounds like you're in a gift shop.
Now, this was really interesting. This little clock right here was given to Spooked in Seattle. It supposedly sat on a desk of a warden, and when the warden was killed, the clock supposedly stopped at the same time he was killed. And actually, Ross Allison will tell the story in this video here.
Can you hear it? It has not worked in years, and all of a sudden it's ticking. You want to tell a little something about this clock?
About the clock?
Yeah.
This clock was donated to our museum. It sat on the desk of a warden who actually was shot and killed during a prison break. And they say that the clock stopped at the exact moment that he died, and it hasn't worked since.
And if you can hear,
And the strange thing is, as soon as we took it out of there, it stopped. So yeah, very strange. So I think one of the boys was maybe tinkering with it and got it to work. There's the hallway. And Waverly Hills Sanatorium, it's kind of more of a tourist trap for paranormal investigators. We had a lot of interesting things happen. This is one of the most haunted areas where Ross and I are standing there. Room 502. One of the guys sliding into one of the morgue drawers. I had to Purell him really well after he got out. Just saying. There's Waverly Hills. Some of the graffiti on the walls. This is really strange, though. One of the people that we were with, Tammy, we were kind of investigating this one room, and all of a sudden she said, "Oh my gosh, I feel really cold, like something's touching me." And so Ross actually took a couple of pictures, and in this picture, you can kind of see around on the right side here, this black shadow where she said something was touching her. And I was like, well, you've now officially been felt up by a ghost. So that is her right there. But you can tell she's pretty scared in this picture because she feels like something's touching her. And there we are there. No, we don't want to play that one. Okay, now we're in St. Francisville, Louisiana, and the Myrtles Plantation. I don't know if a lot of you have seen this. This has been on all the ghost shows. Just absolutely beautiful. Beautiful area. And the first owner was in ironworks. So you can see all the beautiful filigree and ironworks all around the porch. This is the plantation. It's a smaller plantation, actually, by plantation standards. But this reputably built on an Indian burial ground, which just about everything is anymore. Native American burial ground, I'm sorry. But a young Native American woman has been seen. But the most famous reported story is that of Chloe. And Chloe supposedly was a slave that worked in the house. And one of the things about Chloe was she liked to eavesdrop quite a bit because she could tell if anybody was going to be sold, if they were going to have new people coming in, all this stuff. So she would listen and then she'd report to the other slaves. One day she was caught, and he was so enraged, the master of the house was so enraged that he cut off her ear. So she walked around with a turban on her ear, covering her ear up, but she was so afraid that she was going to be sent back out to the field that she kind of concocted this little plan. What she decided to do, she was going to make a cake and put just a little bit of oleander, which is poison, in the cake, just to make the mother and the children sick so she could nurse them back to health. And then she would be an invaluable person in the house, and she wouldn't be, turned out to the fields. Well, as the story goes, everything went wrong, and the mother and children passed away and died. Well, she was so upset and so freaked out, she ran out to the other slaves, told them what happened, and they immediately hung her from a tree, from this big tree right here. Well, there's one of the pictures somebody took. They, think that this might be Chloe in the breezeway there in the building. See, I think there's a close-up of it. This could be complete pareidolia, but a lot of people think this might be her. But the whole thing is, there really is no evidence that she ever existed or that children had died at that time. So it's one of those stories that have just been passed down since, the early 1800s on, late 1700s, early 1800s on. but they have reported the sound of children laughing and crying and seeing shadows running along the backyard. But this was my room when I stayed there. So one of the experiences I had after I got up on this bed, there's no steps, stool or anything to get up on this bed, and it took me a while to crawl up there. But when I finally got up in the bed, I was sick and had this horrible, horrible asthma cough, which I kind of have now, which I'm trying to get rid of. But I was coughing all night long. Well, all of a sudden I had this horrible coughing fit when I heard a little girl say, "Are you all right?" in the room with me. And it just, took me off guard. And I had not been recording with my audio recorder because I didn't want to hear myself cough all night. Chris is making me cough when I talk about it. So of course you just hear me, grab the audio recorder and try to wake Ross up in the next room, but he was sound asleep. And so I was trying to do my own EVP session, and I did not get anything after that, but it did. It sounded like a little girl just saying, "Are you all right?" Ooh, this part kind of got a little messed up here. This part is actually at Gettysburg, and sorry, but my screen just got a little messed up. At the Jenny Wade house, we got to investigate the Jenny Wade house and the orphanage there, but just really interesting spots. We didn't really get any good information there, so I'll just keep going on here. But now we're going to Canada, and this was British Columbia in Barkerville. We were the very first American team to investigate this place. This is I guess you'd say a ghost town, in a way. Nobody lives there, and in the wintertime, it's completely shut down. Well, we got to investigate this with a team from Canada, and it was amazing. All these different, I think it said about 80% of the buildings were original. So there were some that they had to rebuild. But this is the old St. George Hotel. And that is Morgan setting up everything. There were also bears around, just to let you know. Wasn't very smart to walk by yourself in the middle of the road at night by yourself. Now, that was an EVP we caught in one of the old opium dens in the Chinese district area. There were extremely large population at the time of Chinese immigrants that lived there, and who were basically looking for gold. So it was very interesting. There's a huge section of town that is for the Chinese immigrants who made this place their home. And one of the places that we were at, it was this opium den that actually had not been opened since, I think it was like 1990 something. And they let us actually go in there, which was very interesting because everything was so small and compact. But we caught this, and we did not hear it at the time with our own ears, and we're not sure, if this was Chinese or not. A friend of mine listened to it who spoke Cantonese, and she couldn't figure out. But we did not hear that at the time with our own ears. That was very interesting. But this is such a cool place. It's about 10 hours from Seattle. So, yeah, it was just beautiful to see. Now, when we were in one of the hotels, I kind of played a madam. And I was telling the girls at this hotel that used to be an old brothel, that I was going to come in and hopefully make some good changes, and I hope that the girls were okay. And I, tried not to provoke in any way. We don't believe in doing that. And but when I was by myself in the house, I started talking to them and telling them that I really wasn't their new madam. And, I hope they can forgive me for, just saying that and everything. And this light fixture started swinging.
If there is anybody in here, please keep swinging that lamp. Thank you. I'm really not your new madam. I was just pretending for a skit. So please don't be upset with me. I'm really sorry if I offended anyone here tonight. And I just really thank you for letting us be in here in this wonderful, beautiful home you have.
So anyway, that was Barkerville in British Columbia. Because I have all the information right here. So now we're going to fly overseas to the UK. This is Chillingham Castle. It is considered one of the most haunted castles in the United Kingdom. It's been on a lot of shows, Scariest Places on Earth, a few others. I can't remember some of the others, but it was an amazing experience. Here is what it looks like. Now, this place is in the middle of nowhere. When I say in the middle of nowhere, I mean in the middle of nowhere. When we got into the cab to take us to the castle, he's like, "Oh, I kind of remember seeing that once, but it's not on the GPS. Let's give it a go and see where we end up." So I was a little scared with the how much this was going to cost us, but it wasn't too bad. He actually did kind of know where it was, and that was a good thing. But these gardens, I've seen pictures because we went in the wintertime, but I've seen pictures in the spring that these gardens are amazing. And it was really interesting too. I looked at this and it looks like there's a little mist floating up here, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure where that came from or what that was from. So it was very interesting. It's a comfy little chair for you to sit on in their dungeon area. Now, this was kind of interesting. We did a investigation. I think it was about, this was after we got back from the haunted woods. So this was about 2 a.m. in the old kitchen. Perfect. Sound effects. Anyway, that was pretty awesome. And we also got to go into the haunted woods. We had a nice little investigation there. And there's the haunted attic, which I almost died myself and became a ghost because there was about 7,000 stairs to walk to the top. Just saying. It was pretty brutal. This was kind of an interesting little clip. I'll tell you a little more about this after this. We're in the haunted woods. Whoa. Ross says someone tugged in the back of his jacket.
Nothing, not even a tree branch. There's some people coming.
So we're hearing these people to the right of us while we're in these woods. And we hear these, it sounded like a few girls laughing. And all of a sudden we were like, oh, great, somebody's going to come in and kind of disturb our investigation. And all of a sudden we realized that they were about maybe 20 feet away from us. And we realized they were not using any flashlights or anything. This night had no moon. It was completely blackout. When I say it was blackout, it was so dark. When we turned all the lights off, I could not see my hand in front of my face. It was that dark. We realized that we heard these young girls, laughing. And then all of a sudden there was nothing. We did not hear them get into a car. They were in the woods, walking towards us, and we didn't see any lights, anything. Not sure if it's paranormal, but it was very interesting when we, when that happened to us. And one of the claims that they had said was they thought they heard the sound of women laughing in the woods at night. And about these woods, this was called basically the witches' woods, because a lot of women were hung from these trees when they were suspected of witchcraft, which, when you really walk in there, it's just horrible to even think how many young women died in this forest. Now we'll go to London. See if you can get on time.
You're fine.
Okay. This was me walking by myself at night, and I just realized that was probably really stupid, but I got a great picture of the top of the London Bridge. Anyway, one of our favorite places to go was Highgate Cemetery, and that cemetery is absolutely beautiful. So many monuments there. This is one of my favorites. And this were crypts over there. What's really cool about this picture is I've been watching several old movies from the 70s, from not old. Well, I guess they are considered old now. Whatever. Older movies. But and they show these crypts in a lot of different movies, which is pretty interesting. But I recognize it now and go, oh my gosh, it was right there. But this is kind of what it looks like. It's completely, almost everything is covered in vines. That's a beautiful monument. And they have a legendary fox that they feed every day. And there have been some children's books written about the fox that lives in the graveyard. Oop, there we are again. Now, I don't know if anybody has ever seen the old Disney movie about Greyfriars Bobby, but the story is basically of a little dog that, after his master died, he came to visit his master every single day until the day he died. So one of those movies I never want to see again, because I think I cried for 3 days afterwards. It was just so sad. But it was kind of sweet too, because this whole town kind of adopted this dog, and every single day, at 1 o'clock, there'd be a huge group of people gathering to see him come out for his little 1 o'clock stroll around this area here, and then people would give him treats and everything else. But I was going to say how long it did, but the cemetery itself is just incredible. See all sorts of things. It's dating back to the 1560s. Haunted cemetery is, they think haunting the cemetery, his name is George Mackenzie. He was called the Mackenzie poltergeist, which, they call him the Mackenzie spirit. It's supposed to be one of the most aggressive and active paranormal figures around. They say there's 450 documented attacks, 140 people who had collapsed, and even suspicion that the Mackenzie ghost was responsible for the death of one local psychic. But when I was in there, I actually felt extremely peaceful, and I don't know if I was just so filled with joy to actually be there that I might have overlooked if something was trying to attack me. It's like, oh. And then after that, we went to Mary King's Close. And this was kind of a place where they had put a lot of plague victims and kind of blocked them up under the city. So this is under Edinburgh. They won't let you take pictures in there, which almost killed me. It's like, really? But anyway, we're back at Greyfriars Bobby Cemetery. Like I said, it's just an unbelievable, beautiful place with all that history around. And then they talk about Greyfriars Bobby, the loyal dog that stood vigil over his deceased owner's grave for 14 years. That's what it was, 14 years every day laid on his owner's grave. They even built him a little shelter over on the grave. And when he died, they buried him with his owner, which is really nice. Anyway, there it is. And you're supposed to rub his little nose for luck, so he's got a little polished nose. And we were very lucky to stay in Roslyn Castle. Here, let me get the picture of it. This was, at the time, I mean, it was a huge, huge place, but there's only just one little part of a house that they have which they refurbished in 1620. If you can see that, that's when they refurbished it, to make it a livable area in Roslyn Castle. So there we are there. That is the structure in the back there. And this is inside. This was amazing because we were right there with all these amazing, beautiful tapestries. This tapestry was made in the early 1700s. And I was just like, oh my gosh, all this history around us. And that's where they remade it in 1622, the door. And yes, a young teenage boy running down the stairs, and women wearing white gowns, shadows darting around the dungeon area, sounds of crying and screaming, also the sounds of ghostly howling dog. There's also several layers of dungeons underneath the castle, which we got to explore. And here's kind of a look at the inside. But these paintings of the family, I would lay on that couch for just a long time and get all warm by that fire. It was amazing. Amazing experience. Friend Mark, here's Ross, reading through all the historical books and documents. And there I am looking in the mirror, thinking of all the other people that probably stood there and looked in the mirror. And that was down below. No, I won't play that because it's very loud. And then we went over to Dublin and stayed in Clontarf Castle. And that has lots of ghost stories. They turned it into a 4-star luxury hotel. And there's been a castle on that site since 1172. So they keep fixing it up. Woman wearing a red dress, a small boy running down the halls, the sound of a woman crying, the sound of children playing, shadows of men walking down hallways. I think a lot of residual haunting in that castle. Not a lot of intelligent haunting has been reported. There we are in Dublin. And it was raining. And these are some pictures from the Glasnevin Cemetery there. Now, the cab driver told me that no one living in Dublin can be buried in the cemetery now. So, of course, I was like, why? He said, because they're still alive, silly. That was his joke for the day. And he laughed and laughed and laughed. But over 1 million people are buried there, and beautiful Celtic crosses as stone markers. It is beautiful there. There's a little video I did of just kind of the area there.
The pipes are calling
Mm.
from glen to glen and down the mountainside.
Anyway, it's just incredible.
Hmm.
And when Ross was walking on one of the lower levels past one of the crypts, he heard a noise and said that he turned around and he swears he saw someone looking back at him, which made him yelp. So let's see here. But it's just beautiful there. Now, this is when we went to Pompeii in Italy. I won't give the history of Pompeii. I think most of you probably know that. I kind of got obsessed with going to Pompeii when I read it in National Geographic when I was 12 years old, and I finally got to see it in person. Wow. So it was incredible. And as you can see, some of the bodies in ash there. And I actually got a picture of no one on the street. And 5 seconds after this, about 30 people just ran into the street. So it's just pretty amazing. And this was very interesting. When we got off the train in Pompeii, the gates were about a mile away. So we just decided to walk it. And when we started walking, this dog befriended us. And all the vendors and the shopkeepers came out and said, "Oh, the dog picked you today." And we found out that this dog finds visitors or tourists and walks them through the gates of Pompeii and then takes off again. Here, I'll show you this little guy. But it was really cool. He didn't want any food. We tried to give him food. He didn't take it. But we also found out that he was a little celebrity and a children's book was written for him. I think I might have this on there. And I probably shouldn't put this picture of the dead dog after I talk about the cute little dog that showed us around. But, it makes me wonder if this dog didn't, didn't just come back to walk us there. Okay, so this is kind of the end. I did condense it down a little bit for everybody. And this is very interesting. This was a woman in Aghost a long time ago, and she does an EVP session, and when she plays it back is when something really strange happens. Before this, they went to the Rolling Hills Asylum. I don't know if that is in upstate New York. And she had kind of made the comment to one of the spirits that she felt was close by that he was welcome to come home with her. So, yes. So let me play this and you'll see what I mean.
Hi, it's me again. Obviously. No one can understand why you have to scream all the time. Why do you follow me everywhere? I know you need my help, but I can't understand you. Please, just try to not scream.
And I should mention they're in the Seattle Underground.
I have friends with me. They understand things in the spirit world. We all want to try to help. I know you came with me from Rolling Hills, and I told you would never have to go back there. But now I'm thinking you need to go someplace else. I'm going to turn off my recorder. Hopefully I can hear you. I know it's frustrating for you, and it is for me too. I'm going to turn it off now.
So, whoops, sorry. So that is the end. Does anybody have any questions? Just back here.
Let's unmute everybody so you can speak if you want. That was amazing. And I did finally get, I don't know what happened. It took it to a different screen.
Oh.
I did finally get to see part of it. Very, very informative. Now, the life of a paranormal investigator is very exciting.
Well,
I was
honestly though, it's like looking in, looking at a lot of the ghost shows, it looks really exciting, but, it's one of those things where you watch the ghost shows and it looks really exciting, but you're sitting in the dark, for hours at a time, basically talking to yourself. You're setting up experiments. And sometimes there are some times when you start getting some strange things happening around you. We were also investigating the Fox Theater. And I actually felt like we were being surrounded by something. And it was just noises. And we were seeing shadows. And finally we had to I said, I think we need to go out into the lobby for a minute and just calm down and then go back down. But usually it's just sitting there and, no bricks or boards are being thrown at your heads, which, you kind of see in some shows, especially when they provoke and are yelling and everything. We don't believe in doing that at all.
So basically, though, my point in saying that was what June didn't tell you is that in order to get what she put together for this presentation, it took hours and days and weeks of listening to God knows what on a recorder and reviewing film that may show you something. So it's not an easy job, that's for sure. And sometimes you work really hard to get that one little whisper.
Well, like I said, in the Stanwood Hotel and Saloon, when we were cleaning up I think that was about 4 or 5 in the morning, and we were cleaning up to get ready to go. I had absolutely nothing on the recorders that we had going all night long until the very end when I hear this little girl, go, la, la. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned it off.
Yep.
It's like, no. But
well, I have a comment. If nobody has a question, does anybody have a question for June? No. So I'm talking about Todd and I actually got a chance to go with June and her group when she was with a different group to the Stanwood Hotel, and it was just exactly what she described. It was very
Oh.
cold in there because there was no
Yes.
heat.
It was.
They
Oh,
were
yes.
remodeling the place at the time. And we went into this one room, and I had gone into the room and was just there by myself. It was a strange old room that had a little Bo Peep on one wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sitting there kind of waiting, and a couple of other friends came in who were with our group. And one of them said, "Oh, did you smell that?" And it smelled like perfume. Now, one thing that is important for any kind of ghost hunter is don't wear your jewelry, don't wear your perfume. Just basically try to eliminate anything that might set off a sort of a sparkle in the camera, or be noticed as a scent. So we had done that. We were very careful. Basically, what it seemed to me was like if you'd taken a fresh dryer sheet out of the box and just put it right up to your nose. You know how strong those floral scents are? That's exactly what we had. And it surrounded us. I mean, that whole room was just full. All of us noticed it. And then as instantly as it came, it went. It was
That's
gone.
right. I almost forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah. And then later, hours later, we were in the hallway outside that room, and we got that scent all over again. And then again, as we were kind of doing a post-investigation wrap-up downstairs, we got that scent again. In fact, this was the funny part. June is a photographer, so she has what is it? It's an infrared, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, I have many.
Yes.
Full spectrum, infrared, yeah. IR light, yes, everything.
She had a particular camera she was working with that night, and I was sitting next to a fireplace on my left.
Stove.
It was a pellet stove. And it was on, it was blowing hot, but I felt cold on that side. And then I smelled this scent that we had noticed upstairs. And so I told June, I said, come over and, snap some shots around my area. And she did.
Don't forget about the app.
Yeah, I'm working there. And as she got to me, I had this goofy little app that we had downloaded to our iPhones. It was called Ghost. What was it called, Todd? Ghost
Meter.
Ghost Meter? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it was supposed to, sort of figure out if something was around you. It was like a radar screen. And so we'd been playing with that off and on, not taking it terribly seriously.
Right.
And I'm sitting there with that on, and June steps right next to my knee to take a picture over my shoulder, and the word June pops up on the screen of my phone.
It was funny.
And it was not June. It was in the middle of a winter time because it was cold.
It was very cold.
So that's my experience with ghost hunting. And yes, it was interesting. It was fun, but oh my God, you have to stay up all night to do it.
Yeah, as I get older, the more I kind of say, well, if nothing's happening by midnight, let's call it a night. But it also depends on when the activity happens.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody says, oh, the activity that we have in our house happens at 10 o'clock in the morning, we're not going to, be there all night long and then go home, at 4 or 5 in the morning when that's not when the activity happens. So we just kind of have to listen to the client to, find out when the activity mostly happens. And then that's when we usually do. Mm-hmm. And if they say it happens at 3 or 4 in the morning, then we kind of start a little later and see what we can find. And, right. For them, most of the clients who call us in really just want to find out if they're crazy or not. They're like, we just want to see, we don't want to get rid of anything. Mm-hmm. We just want to see if you can, find out if you can get any, evidence. And our group is mostly more scientifically based. We do work with a couple of psychics. One in particular that she doesn't work a lot with us, but one in particular has knocked my socks off several times. It's been absolutely amazing. And but so we do use psychics when we have someone available. So
We may know her, so go ahead.
Merlin Ahern.
Merlin Ahern. Oh, I don't know her.
Merlin. Oh,
Okay.
she's very good friends with Ankasha Amenti.
Okay.
If you know Ankasha, she does more work in Port Gamble. She's a lot of the ghost conferences and everything.
Oh,
But
okay.
Merlin is really very gifted. So
Good.
I have to say, sometimes I can be a little like, oh, psychic, if we use my air quotes. But there have been some people that I'm just like, whoa, okay. I've learned my lesson. So
I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You did a wonderful job, and
you're welcome.
your presentation was beautiful, and we
Thank
thank you very much for you kind of I think what you did was you put a little human spin on it, because when you watch the shows you kind of get this I don't know, it's you don't get a good impression, but you made it easy to understand what you were doing, why you were doing it, and that's really important for your work. So
thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll get this, well, hopefully with very little editing, we'll get it up tomorrow. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Oracle Scroll. Any questions, comments, or anything at all can be forwarded to us at theoraclescroll@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, you may check kevinwalder.com for any further information on the work of your host. And we appreciate you being with us and hope you will spread the word, let your family and friends know how much fun it is to attend the Oracle Scroll. See you next time.